السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بث جديد. طبعا بث راح. ما اقدر اتكلم عنه الصراحة، ان اليوتيوب بحذفته الصراحة. عادي، ما عندي مشكلة. ان تعرفون بث راح، انت سمعت وش قلت هذا. اسمع لي هذه مرة، لا معليش، ان شاء الله ان شاء الله هذه المرة نلعب. الحين طور الكوابيس، هذا الطور المنسي في بلاك اوبس 3. طور منسي ما في احد يلعب فيه، كل ناسي. زي ما وعدتكم نفس طور القصة، بس انها مراحل مختلفة. فيه زومبي. باين ان شاء الله هذه المرة ما في سب ولا شيء، انها ضاع. الطور مرة غريب. علموني هذه راح اقطعها، اني راح اغير مجموعة. علموني راح اقطعها اني بغير مجموعة دقيقة شوي. لحظة. بس انتظر لحظة. الحين جاهزين. شيء غريب، جايبين طور الزومبي بس في طور قصة، بس المراحل معكوسة مختلفة. عاد المرحلة الأخيرة تبقى كما هي، نفس طور القصة الأصلي. الحين ما نعرف الحين ايش السالفة وش سالفة الطور دي. طبعا شفنا ذا الكاتسين، شفنا ذا بعد، شوف الكاتسين مرة كلها. اوه، ابني مع فرد وقابل فلاش. اوه اقدر طير، والله اقدر طير. شي غريب ذا فرد، لكنه صدق برضه. هاك زومبي. اوه وقت صادق ان في زومبي. هذا انسان صح؟ اوه اوه جايبينه. وكيف تجيبونهم طور زومبي؟ دي ما اقدر. دي ابن الحلال، ابن الحلال خليني اخذ. ايوه دي ما اوه ما اقدر، بس يكون معي سلاح واحد. اوه هذه معلومة تدرين عنها، بس يكون معي سلاح واحد. اضرب اولى الحين، هذه تبقى كمان ما طايرة اللعبة. هذا كان سلاح الثانوي. اوه صندوق. اوه وش فيه؟ اوه تدري الشجنات هنا حلوة مرة قوية، بس ما نبيها حاجة نقدر شاطر. وحتى الزومبي يرسلون أسلحة. وسلاح يروح صح؟ يطيح في الأرض. الصندوق ما يختفي صح؟ لا ما اتوقع انه يختفي. خلاص نخلي السلاح مالي. نفس كل شيء الرباط طبعا بيقوم.
We should have known that the ASP was in place. If we were going to bring it down, we'd need to disable his shield and find a rocket launcher. Hendricks had a bad feeling about this. He wasn't the only one. I knew we shouldn't be there.
اوه وات، مزرعة. مزرعة. بطريقتين دمرناها. والله مزرعة بس بطريقتين دمرناها. بس اسمه ضغط مسلسات. اوه أدوار صادق، هذا طور منسي.
Coalescence. Enhance yourself for a better tomorrow.
وش ذي الكلمة اللي تحت؟
They'd been the forefront of
COE وش اللغة ذي تحت بالترجمة؟
The future of you.
مدري شنو اللغة.
What happened? What
went
A coalescence disaster happened. Virus 6115 spread throughout Singapore and strains popped up all over the world. Governments built these quarantine zones to house the undead, a way for the populace to ignore what was happening. 10 years on, and it had worked. We put it out of mind. Ignorance was bliss.
What was so special about this operation?
It was supposed to be by the books. 5 years after our cybernetic augmentations, Hendrix and I were a well-oiled machine. Quarantine sweeps, recon, search and rescue. It's just what dead killers do. But we'd never been sent after one of our own. John Taylor's systems had gone quiet. With our direct neural interface, we're hardwired into Winslow Accord servers. Observation knew if you were dead or alive. For Taylor to be neither.
نفس الشيء ما يقدر يجاوب. طبعا لا حد ينسى طور القصة وبعدها الطور. طيب تلعب انت اخوياك مع بعض. اقصى شيء 4.
detailing unusual activity coming from the server room at the lowest level of the building.
تندري هذا.
It couldn't have been more than a week old. Probably why Taylor's team.
يعني كان على ظهره كامل اليوم هذا. What?
Hendrix activated a recon drone to scan for life. We picked up a signal coming from far below. As we stood there in the atrium, I felt like Alice.
We
were about to jump down the rabbit hole.
شي هناك. كيف في شي هناك. قسمت لنا الجنة. شنو؟ بدو طور الكوابيس التقط. لكن هذا نفس قطع طور القصة ذيك، بس انها كلها دبدوب حق الصندوق حق الزومبي زي ما تعرفون انتم. اصلا يدري هذا. لقينا دبدوب كذا منور رح ناخذه. وكم بيرك الشحن سريع. طبعا اعذروني اذا كنت مسكر مايك كل شوي، انا عندي ضيوف. اصلا مو بعندي الضيوف. عندكم بعد في مدرة. اوه لا مو مدرة، زومبي معضل. والله ما بسرعة. مستكل. انا اقدر اخذها. مستكل نفسه. مكسامة بس من ضر ايده. يعني الزومبي ما يرس بس ما يطلعون بس هذا طلعون وش ذا؟ هاي الشخصية حقت القصة سبحان الله هذه تلقى كأنها مفاعلة جود مود. يا اخي ناخذها. مكسامة في ويعبي رصاص بدون ما يعشق صح؟ اوي والله مثل مكسامة ذيك حقت الكاستم ماب. في زومبي صح؟ عندي رصاص. ما في سكينة عشان اطعن بس في بوكس حق السلاح. ألبس بالسلاح. نوفا 6. اوه هذا حق شو اسمه اي حق بلاك اوبس 1 نوفا 6 عرفتوها الغاز يقول نوفا 6 هي في طور قصة حق بلاك اوبس 1 اللي عارفه راح يعرفه شنو اللي كد لعب او بتذكر هذا ما انساه طبعا نفس الشيء الناديين محبوسين.
When man fled the virus, they left behind thousands of active robots. Machinery abandoned with one directive: kill the dead. Years later, they're still killing. But with decrepit programming, somehow humans had been added to their kill list, indistinguishable from our brainless counterparts. The strange behavior was observed in multiple quarantine zones. Another nuisance for us to deal with while on recon. We moved on.
جميلة لكن من حركة صب أنا ما جميل حركة صب دريشة هذه كأنه قلنا بحركة ستوب. بروح عكس اتوقع هنا في شيء. يب كنت متأكد. هذا بنحاول نختم ممكن نختمه ونوقف نص القصة نكملها إن شاء الله بكرة.
But the signal came from lower still, below coalescence.
الصوت اوه هذا اوه قدرة هذا قدرة الزومبي كان غريبة. في قلت اتوقع اني اجي فوق اي لمبة فوق اي شيء كذا مرتفع ما يجي مساحة. كذا هذا ممتاز بس هذا اي اطلاق سريع يحتاجه اصير اسوي هذا اقوى شوي. انا اشوف اجي هنا ما يمسون الزومبي كان في شيء ايش كأنها كورة تطير وتسكر ما اقدر حتى ادمرها لان هي بتراني المنطقة مرتفعة. اصبر وضل واحد بس انتهى بالسلاح معضل. مقطع يا مرتفع. والله ما ادري هل اخذ منوار ولا ايش ما ادري. صعبة والله اخي خذ منوار قداش قوة الأسلحة. يعني زي كذا شوف زي كذا يجي المنطقة مرتفعة مرة مزون ما يقدرون يجون يجي زي كذا دمج الدمج قوي خلينا هذا هيلث واحد. كيف اخترق البشتاء؟
What waited for you?
No. In hindsight, we should have put it together. But the fact of the matter, that day was supposed to be like any other.
شك في الصندوق بيكون هنا. ايوه شوفوا. اوه شدت مشين. اوه دي اقدر اخذه ولا هو بس كذا منظر؟ ما ادري هو موجود في الصندوق ولا منظر. افتح الصندوق لين يجي ذا ويفتح الباب.
What did you find below Coalescence?
A CIA Black project. Project Corvus. Unknown to the world, and unknown to most people in the know. As off the record as it got. A redacted footnote in Langley's history book. Part of me wishes we just turned back.
Why?
It would have been easier. For me. For Hendrix. For the world.
Is it such a bad thing? To want to be blissfully ignorant in the face of daunting adversity?
We didn't have a choice.
Those who find fate thrust upon them rarely do.
اوه عارف كان في مليون زومبي هنا رسمي. نسيت احط جوا هذا الصوت. اوه في دغني دغنت ما ناخذ وبرت. اوه كيف مت؟ اتوقع قدرتي وذبحتني. القدرة حقتي يمكن. اتوقع قدرتي ذبحتني. اوه هذا هو اللي ذبحني. يعني ما كانت قدرة حقتي. حطني اياه. بينجو بينجو بينجو. لا لا. والله ابغى اموت. لا حسب من هو هذا اقوى. يعني اصلا اهم شيء خواطات والطور انها اقوى. ساعة سريع يعتبر قوي مرة. صح ودي اشوف شخصيتي شنو.
The human testing lab.
شخصيتي انت.
What awaited you there?
يحطوني اصلا حط شخصية الرجال. ما في احد اكثر صورة. اي والله قسما بالله كنت عارف. انا دائما امشي بدون حتى ما افتش المنطقة. مو تفتشها ترقصت المفروض كذا لعبة. بدي تقطع انقذ. اقدر اروح لك هناك زي كذا بس قاعد لا تدخلني. افتح. خلاص رصاص جهز نفسه. تكا ضغطي يا حاج يضبط يضبطي. ها اوه لا والله عاد تضبط. كنت سريع كفاية. غريب عيونه الحمراء. لا مو العيون الجبهة. الجبهة غريبة الحمراء. تمام. اوه شيت انا عارف ايش معنى هذا. خلنا ناخذ اهم شيء. البالة. اركض 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 لا اوه شيت انا عارف ترى لو وقفت هناك اصبر راح انحشر. كذا لازم نتقدم. الزومبي يرسلون. انا بدي اعرف شو زي الاغنية بدي اسمع حاليا. والله ما مركب كبرات قسم بالله والله لها والله. هذا شيء بس انه ما يا اخي لا تجيب حد. لو باخذ لك سلاح كذا بغيره. غير السلاح ذا اليوم. ما احس السلاح راح يضبطني يعني خلاص غيره بس. 70.
When you found the server room, did you have any idea what you would uncover?
We couldn't have known. We found Sebastian Diaz, one of Taylor's, another dead killer, our friend. He'd linked himself to the CIA server, connected directly with the Winslow Accord systems. He was deactivating defenses for the undead quarantine zones all over the world. The massive walls containing the spread, keeping us from the undead. Deactivating the defenses would let the flesh-eating hordes loose upon the living. It would end humanity. We had to stop him. The only way to stop him now was by destroying the server.
أعطيها. في عندي تطير. اوه شيت اوه شيت كنت عارف ان الزومبي ينتظروني. مكسام هنا. اوه اوه نقول يا اخي دقيقة انا كنت اشوف عليه هو ضغط زينة. قنبلة داخل اصلا اخر وحدة. الحين نسوي انا يتوقع لازم احميه او لا ما يحتاج. ما ادري بوقف هنا احتياط. اوه وش ذا الزوم؟ شفت الزومبي كيف يتفجر لكن يتخيل. اوه قصة قدسي. هذا هو الزومبي هم تشوف. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. والله بخير. شو ذا الزومبي يتفجر. خلصنا هنا. ما مسكت الكاتسين هو اصلا مسكت درقص. كيف يبرز درقص؟ اتوقع نت. تبي الزومبي لا خط بس لا يقدر ايه صواح تلفون الحين هنا بس مو طرزان شبيه الطرزان هذا طرزان يعني اليمين. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. خير الحمد لله. ايوه تخلي الناس اللي في البث يسمعونك. فيكم اطلع. يقول لي العب زومبي. طب ها وش اسوي؟ هذه ايه قد العبها اسمه طور الكوابيس. هذا طور منسي تدري ما في احد يلعب فيه تدري قسما بالله. نادر تلقى والله نادر تلقى. ايه نادر وقسما بالله ما في احد يلعب فيه. منسي من اول ما نزل من اتوقع 2016 او 15 اتوقع نزل مع اللعبه. ايه ما في احد لعب فيه. العبوا فيه كذا الناس كذا جيمين تبى خلهم. قالوا مدري كم له سنة ما أسرعوا فيه. في شوية ناس سووا تختيم له. أنا عاد بحاول أسوي التختيم بس ممكن ما أختمه اليوم. ممكن اليوم ما أختمه ما أدري على حسب الوقت المتوفر من عندي. إيه يا أحمد يا أحمد إيه يا أحمد.
We needed to get out of there before the whole building collapsed. Hendricks had an idea. Flood the lab and let the water pressure jettison us out. Our lungs could take it. He just needed time to open the door.
ترى أسلحة عشوائية كما تدري، عليها إضافات وألوان عشوائية. هذا مش نفس الغلط. ايه بس لا، أهم شيء أنه كان عليه إضافات زينة. الأسلحة دي تقولها زين، تكون عليها إضافات تحتاجها. طب نزلت أنا طور قصة، اسمع، نزلت تختيم طور قصة تحداك رسالة. احضروه اليوتيوب. ايه امسحوه من اليوتيوب، بس طبعا بس انا هو عندي حدنا اقدر اتابعه. انا عارف ليش، عشان أنا قلت كلام كثير. تعرف انت الكلام الكثير. هو ترى قلت كلام بس ما بيقول انك كنت تعرفه دائما. ايه فكذا احضروه اليوتيوب. طبعا انا رحت حذفته.
We survived. Taylor's team was making their way out of Singapore, but we weren't giving up.
بعد ما حذفته الحين كنت ما ادري ايش اسوي. انا ختمت طور قصة، يعني ما ادري ايش الفائدة. بس خلينا نقول نجيب طور شبيه طور قصة. هذا يدري. انا عاد اسمع، ودي اسوي لغز ماب، افتح بس اسوي لغز ماب، بس زي ما تعرف المواد اللي عندي كل الغاز حقاتها تحت 4 لاعبين، كلها تحت 4 لاعبين، ما اقدر اختمها. لا ايش دخل شادو، كلها يحتاج 4. شادو، اسنشن، اوريجنز، شنجريلا، اتوقع بديت هذا. ايه هديت 4 لاعبين، وما تجيب 4 لاعبين، ما تجيب 3 بدون نت. انا لازم ضرخ مقفل، ما اقدر افتح. هذه كنت حليت السولو، كنت حليت السولو انا، بس في يعني كنت حليت السولو في تقريبا 22 دقيقة و37 ثانية. ايه تخيل نسوي سبيد ران RPG حتى طلعت لي اني كنت احتاجها في هذا الناس اللي شفته شفته في زومبي صارخ علي وش اسمه هو انفجر. اتوقع نوع جديد من الزومبي في الطور. تصدق بحط هذا الشد هنا نقول نعض.
What are these drops I keep saying? I saw them in coalescence too.
It is your mind trying to help you through your memories. Weapons, abilities, powers. Use them or don't, but they may offer you a temporary advantage. Where did the ass take you next?
We still have to get to the factory entrance.
هذا؟ هي مواطن القصة بس انها معكوسة كلها زومبي، واسمها طور الكوابيس بالعربي طبعا. اي والله. ما اقدر امشي هذا. قدام. برم. انت عندك البث متاخر ولا وش؟ لا اقول البث عندك انت متاخر قاعد تشوفه.
The entrance was locked. We had to destroy a generator to get it open. That was
هذا
a with more dead.
شو يسوي لو قرب مني وشوف؟
I had an arsenal in front of me, but Diaz
صرخ
made it
وجهي.
clear.
اوه
He told me
شيت.
to run point on the ground.
يا منفجر.
He was curious to see me think of my feet.
لا ما
In a way,
بيستغرب.
he was acting as your training.
Diaz wanted me to earn the name Dead Killer. And there's really only one way you can do that. I had support that day, but when you're out there in the real world, you're on your own. No backup, no reinforcements. Just you and the undead.
صحيح قلت شنو اقدر اسوي؟
Show
اتوقع.
who's worthy of the name.
ايه ها الحين في الهواء. ها اوح كم واحد تفجر في وجهي؟ كم واحد؟ هذا عادي. هذا شيء اعطاني خمس. قرب لا انت رجع. من القنبلة صح؟ برمي قنبلة انا. القى حتى القنبلة بالضبط ما شاء الله. اخذ سلاحي وين؟ خل احس السلاح ممتاز. وات كان الزومبي هنا. كيف اختفوا؟ شفته انت؟ لا اسمع لا كان زومبي قدامي الف ورا كذا اللي ظهري مرات بوابه اللي في ظهري ورا سبحان الله زومبي يختفوا قسما بالله. دي استوت اللعبه. تخيل كان السلاح شويه زق. خلنا اخذ ده بس. اوه السلاح المعد كأنه مو بزين. دبل مقسامه. انت اوه عارف دي الانستا كده دي الصفرة تجمدهم كل ابوهم وخليهم كلهم طلق واحد يموتون لكشان.
What's happening? I can't.
Stay with me. Come back to my voice.
I I don't understand.
Tell me what happened.
I don't know. I saw robots and they were ripping me apart. What's happening to me? What was I seeing?
It is a lapse.
مشكلة ما اقدر
Your mind is
اسكر.
wandering into the unknown.
والله اقدر.
Your subconscious finding fears.
ما اقدر. لقطة كتسين يعني شو اسمه دائما كنت بسكبه بس حسبت ما اقدر. تسريع يا بقدر اسكب كل شوي.
Remember, walk before you run. You weren't alone.
بقدر ايوه اخيرا. دي ساعة قضاء تكس. ساعة بقسه. لعبة مطاردة. احبها بس. احب مطاردة زي كذا.
This guy didn't mess around. He had DNI just like us. He was hijacking any robotics he could, sending them after us.
تعال تعال. وين رايح وين رايح؟ You never نسيت ايش اقول. ها لكن الدمج تحت الصفر. هذا السلاح على الطيارات دي. بعض الطيارات يعني هذا. انا والله اظن انه قوي قسم بالله بطور قصة. طلقة واحدة مفجر طيارة. سبحان الله في الطور. حتى ترى بطور قصة. ما ادري كيف. ايه ادري طور الان ترى قوي. مسكته. هلا قوي. هاي سك بس. اوكي سكب برا. ايوه لا علق عندي شاف من شيء وقفه. هاي ميكا ابي يس ابي. هذه هنا الزومبي بس. بس طبعا الشداقن بهذا الطور ترى قوية مرة بخاصة عاد ضد الزومبي. شدكم كلكم. ما بقيت احد. هذا سريع. منظار ايله مقبض. لا ما بي. ارجع شدقني. لا بس اخذت السلاح وتموت كذا. لا بس منظار ايله مقبض بس لا اكثر. مو بقوة الشدقن ذا المين. لا قسم بالله اشتروني حشر. والله بغيت اروح فيها. يشوف اضغط على الشاشة بيطلع لك مباشر وعليها الثواني ومدري شنو ارقام، واتوقع رقم ما ينور احمر. ايه احمر خاصة. ايه زين، هو بس زي كذا. يلا اثنين. اوه لا، كان نصبوني. انا بس مصورة هذا ذا نصب ثاني، سلس عليه سحب سريع، كنت شفت عليه منظار. يلا لا خده، شنو نمشي قدام. هزي صدوات. تعالوا طيب السرعة. إيه. مثلا اقدر اسوي بعد زي كذا. اوه جمد الوقت. لا اعطني. مرة ضعاف ضد الشداق ذا الزومبي. صندوق قدر هناك في سلاح. ترى كنت شفت دث مشين تدري، والله العظيم كنت شفت دث مشين في الصندوق، بس ما ادري هل هو كذا محطوط منظر ولا اقدر اخذه. ما ادري، خليني اتاكد. لا اخر فتحة بدي امشي. لا والله شد قمع كاتم. مكسام زي ما قلت. اوه هذول موجودين. اوه طلقة واحدة. هاي قوة. ايه مد. قاعد اطلق الزومبي كذا بسرعة فائقة، قال كنا سرعة التيربو قسما بالله، وفجأة اموت كذا مسرع بسرعة التيربو. يا اخ فتحة وامشي. امشي. لا مقلل. لا سلامات. اوكي ما بخلي، بس ما ادري يمكن يوتيوب تمسحه مو بان. يا مع السلامة. هاي كم تسمعون ترى هو اخوي. اسمع يا بس. كل الباب كيف ابركادابرا فجأة كل الزومبي يختفي. انا حتى ما ادري ايش راح تكون النهاية، ما ادري اصلا وش مفهوم
The
القصة في
Carter's
اللعبة؟
group had planted a biochemical bomb containing 6115 on a maglev train. They were going to detonate it in downtown Zurich. Their plan was to turn the whole city as we feared. Taylor said there wasn't much time, but I'd done good. For all the on-the-job training I'd been through, I'd done all right for myself. All that was left was to find the train.
ما أقدر أسكب أحاول. يلا.
Good. You didn't even need my push to the final memory. You connected events and arrived at the truth.
Now what
أقدر
happens?
أسكب.
Now we set things right.
أقدر أسكب صحيح. ولا يكون ما يصير. إذا نحن ذاك الشيء مين؟ ربطات. حاسب بزومبي. عادة زومبي. مرة ضعاف الطور الآليين وهذا شيء غريب. حرام منك جاي من بعيد. ها في زومبي ورا الباب. قبل ارتباك ما في احد يقدر يذبح الثاني بس شكلهم يحبون يغدرون دولي. الحمد لله انجرى مكسهم كمان رصاص. ابينه كل واحد. راح تقدره. اتوقع ناكل الباب. ايوه
Found the bomb car. The whole thing was wired up, primed to blow. There wasn't time. I couldn't disarm it.
So what did you do?
Remember how we can't get infected? Some of the rumors about us were true. That's why I was there. Why we make the sacrifice. I used my cybernetic abilities to reverse the polarity of the train car and detach
حصل القطار.
the car unleashed the gas. And safely outside the city.
And you lived?
I didn't know I'd make it at the time, but I turned out all right. It wasn't the last time I cheated death.
طيب نفس الكتسين شايف.
No.
شخصية ما ادري ايش قالت. نو.
Can you hear me? Are you there?
I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready to continue.
Good. Now that you've begun conditioning, let's return to 27. After Morrison's wounds, you attract.
Okay.
With quarantine zones unlocked all over the world, we couldn't raise WA command. If we were going to escape,
اوه
Return to the 54 immortals.
54 موتوز. عشان نطلب مساعدة منهم.
Hendricks trusted them?
What choice did we have? If we wanted out of Singapore, we had to go through the biodomes.
شكل سكت بس كلام مرك. أدري هذا كلام مهم بس والله ماني مهتم بالكلام.
Getting in was easy. Getting out would be another matter entirely. At the time, the biodomes were the safest place to be. With the outbreak of 2060, the Immortals seized the marina and dug in. The biodomes were impenetrable. Dead-proof. Hendricks had a contact, Danny Lee. He was slimy as they come, but he could get us transport.
ده بعطي نفس ميوت.
Not only that,
وقي
Taylor
قصة.
had beaten us out of the biodomes.
يقول تسمعونه.
Heading.
They had this information.
Danny was convinced Gojulan had info on her central server. They were doing us a solid, really. But that didn't come cheap. They wanted food, water, weapons, reinforcements from the Winslow Accord. We agreed to their terms, with no idea if we could honor it. The Immortals were a people of their word, and quite efficient in punishing those who did not act the same. Danny was in a bad mood. The Immortals weren't exactly happy to see us. They knew our part in what had happened in Coalescence. Danny went so far as to accuse us of opening the containment zones ourselves. Hendricks persuaded him otherwise. But that didn't change how I felt. We were there. We had our chance to stop Diaz in the server room.
You cannot blame yourself for what is out of your control. There were powers in play far greater than your own. Powers with far more control. You were a pawn in his game.
You mean Deimos? Well, as it turns out, we weren't his only pawns in the room.
How do you mean?
You can get us a ride out? Sure, I'll give you that. But claiming to know where Taylor was? Know that saying, too good to be true? Something was wrong. There was something malevolent, malicious. I called Danny out. I wasn't too happy with that. But then again, we assumed he was just scared. The outbreak now occurring worldwide was unprecedented. We were all scared. Up till now, we'd become complacent. We got comfortable. The dead had stayed in their cage, and we kept pretending nothing had happened. Taylor and Diaz changed that. Pandemonium, riots, civil war, countries were already tearing themselves apart, in many cases before the dead even reached them. Danny wasn't scared. He was stalling. And it only took us another moment to find out why.
The Ghost siblings. Danny set you up.
No. This was different. It was their eyes. Hollow. Empty. Void of life. Like they could see right through me. They all had it. Just like Diaz. It was only later we found out all higher-ups in the Immortals were outfitted with D&I. Like us. If only we'd known the part our own technology would play. The thing about dead killers, though, there's always a plan B. We had a robot squad in place, ready if the situation took a turn. Gojulan bolted before our robots got her. She was headed for the server room in Cloud Mountain, the only place we could put in the call from transport. It became quickly apparent that uninvited guests had joined the party in the biodomes. The dead were flooding into this safe haven. It was about to become hell on Earth. We had to move. We had to get to Cloud Mountain. I don't know how the undead got in. A forgotten open gate. A child's mistake. A poorly nailed board over a window. It didn't matter. It was spreading fast. We were already outnumbered 20 to 1. The remaining humans scrambling away, or locked in their homes. Screech. Parasites, mutated creatures born out of 6115 were flying towards us. We heard that familiar screech. Parasites, mutated creatures born out of 6115 were flying towards us. With the shipping yard clear, Cloud Mountain was just ahead. The server room at the top. We had a long climb ahead of us.
What happened in the server room?
By the time we got there, Gojulan encrypted her hardware, locking us out of the central server. Hendricks stepped in, but we were a few seconds too late. Damage was done.
Why did she lock you out?
It didn't make any sense. Sure, we weren't on the best of terms, but this wasn't her. Something else made her do it. Something was controlling her. Hendricks had pulled all the data he could. I hoped it was enough. Our pickup was in position. It's time to get the hell out of here. Our bird wasn't alone in the sky. Our VTOL had caught the attention of an old automated race. We needed to find another way.
This wraith tailing you. It was like the malfunctioning robots you found in different quarantine zones. The kind targeting anything and everything as an enemy.
Just like that. Except on a much larger, more deadly scale. And this one was very interested in us. Command had an exit route. Extraction set beyond the swamps. If we crossed the super trees, there were shipping docks where we could commandeer an airboat. It's easier said than done. Between the flesh eaters and that wraith eyeing us, the super trees would be no walk in the park. We had to haul ass and stay out of sight. But they weren't our only concern. Winslow Accord picked up chatter ahead. Apparently, we weren't the only humans using the docks to escape. The super tree was complaining. The only safe route for the ox was up. Chatter confirmed that 54 immortals were scrambling to get out of the biodomes through the swamps. From the sound of it, they wanted us dead as much as the flesh eaters did. Looked like we were jumping from one bad situation into another. Hendricks commandeered an airboat and set the autopilot. We had undead on our ass, and more 54I ahead. And that rogue wraith wasn't done with us yet. Was just ahead. We were getting out of sync.
What about Taylor? What did Hendricks learn from the server?
Nothing. It had been wiped. Taylor was in the wind. And the virus, 6115, wouldn't stop this time. The Winslow Accord and CDP had been thrown into chaos. We'd lost Hong Kong, Berlin, and Cairo. And it was just getting started. What would come next? How the world would change? There was no way to be ready for that. "5 years. 5 long, dark years. Opening the quarantine zones did exactly as we feared. And by 2075, what was a contained situation gave way to anarchy. Humanity's numbers had been reduced to a few hundred mil scattered across the globe. The undead had risen to 7 billion. Taylor was in the wind. A faded reminder of our inability to stop Armageddon. There was still a Winslow Accord kill-on-sight ordinance in place, but he was a distant memory. Until the aquifers. We were on a routine bombing run outside Cairo. Our orders were to bomb the dead into the next life. Our target was a Catardus colony. They'd taken over a refinery. It was a well-armed facility protecting them and the dead they worshipped. Top priority was to cut off their comms and leave them in the dark. But first, we had to clear out their defenses. This was a routine sweep. Every time another sympathizer colony sprouted up, we'd squash it back down. As far as we were concerned, we were doing the world a favor. We moved on the array, but the undead sympathizers weren't going down without a fight. Our support detail needed a few moments to disable the array. Lucky for me, I had more hostiles to keep me occupied. Disabling the comms would take some time. Our support detail dealt with that. I dealt with reinforcements. station disabled, we had to get back to our burn. The array was ahead. Bring it down, we'd be one step closer to eradicating this colony. Disabling the comms would take some time. Our support detail dealt with that. I dealt with reinforcements. With the comms disabled, we needed to get back in the air. With their comms jammed, the next step was to breach the control room to take back the facility. There was access ahead. I just needed to get through the flooded room in front of me. Our support detail insisted on coming with.
When you were swimming, something went wrong.
Our D&I. There was a malfunction.
What did you see?
I saw... I was drowning. I thought I heard...
This is not your time. Get back up. Do not trust him. Everything is not what it seems.
What did you hear?
Nothing. I couldn't make it out.
Get up.
And I woke up. Someone pulled me out of the water. Someone saved me.
Saved you?
A guardian angel. Someone watching over me. My support detail. She got through somehow and pulled me out. She brought me back from the brink. She said it wasn't my time. My work wasn't done. I had to stop Taylor. I don't know how she knew. It didn't make any sense.
Did you know her?
No. I'd never worked with her before today. We prepped to breach, but it turns out our enemies planned ahead. The explosion blocked our path. We had to double back. It caught us off guard. But the noise also caught the undead's attention. We regrouped with our allies. That's Egyptian Army Lieutenant Ziad Khalil, friend of ours. He was durable, seasoned. He defended his home through undead wars. He wouldn't go down without a fight.
What was the plan?
Khalil would move on control from the exterior. I'd sweep the dead from the air. Our guardian angel accompanied me. She told me the answer to finding Taylor was on this refinery. Why she thought that. How she knew that. It was surreal. When Khalil took the control room, he found something on the security footage. Something we needed to see.
Taylor.
Like seeing a ghost. We just stumbled upon him. This wasn't just a Quatardis colony. This was Taylor's hideout. They were already evacuating Taylor. We locked down the facility, separating Taylor and his associate, Moretti.
Who did you go after?
It was too late for Taylor. The Quatardis put him on a VTOL. We'd go after Moretti. Command informed us the kill order was still active. Hendricks didn't like that, but it wasn't his call.
How did you feel about it?
5 years. 5 years after our fuck-up, and we could fix it. I'd gladly take a shot. Moretti was just below us. If we were gonna get him, we'd need to take a shortcut.
Shortcut?
A leap of faith.
Listen to her. Trust her. Find Taylor.
How was Hendrix coping with the change of plans?
He was upset. And why wouldn't he be? Command wanted our friends dead. He wanted to bring Moretti in alive.
But that wasn't all, was it?
No, Hendrix had been different since Singapore.
In what way?
Every way. Aggressive, angry. He was losing perspective. And something was just off. I should have known what happened.
How could you have known? Even if you had, what could you have done? You seem so certain of it. You cornered him. What did Moretti say?
He said that name. Same as Diaz. Deimos. He said if I wanted answers, I had to find Damien Bishop, a man we both knew from a past mission. Bishop could help stop Deimos. But first, I had to kill him. He kept saying, "This isn't me. This isn't me." He kept saying Deimos made him do it. So I granted his last request. I killed him as he asked. I did our job. It didn't sit with Hendrix.
Can you blame him for his outburst?
Hendrix was pissed because Moretti was our link to finding Taylor. A link I just severed and split open on a spike. And the guilt I carried all those years that I channeled inward, Hendrix channeled outward. At me. This was our chance to fix our mistake, and I fucked that up. Hendrix said I may as well have damned the world myself. I'd had enough. I knocked some sense into him. We lost Taylor, but we had a lead. Moretti said Bishop could help us find Deimos, which meant he was our next stop.
This bishop that Moretti mentioned.
Damien Bishop, the man who found the cure. A vaccination to make 6115 victims human again.
A cure? Did it work?
It should have. Something was blocking it. Bishop had this theory. He believed somewhere there was an undead brain. A single creature controlling them as a collective hive. He believed that it somehow blocked the cure. We met him in 2065 when he made the breakthrough. News traveled fast. He and a few others were kidnapped in Ethiopia. It was a joint op with Taylor's team. We were to extract Bishop from a base overrun by the dead. With the dead crawling all over, we needed a distraction. Something to keep the flesh eaters occupied so we could grab Bishop. We weren't dead killers yet, so we had to be a little more creative. And lucky for us, there were plenty of NRC birds in the sky, and the NRC's dead system still worked. Laser cannons built to auto-target any hostile aircraft.
So you created the diversion.
And Taylor's team prepped extraction. Unfortunately, it seemed our cover wouldn't last as long as we hoped. The remaining NRC noticed the radio silence from air traffic control and had sent soldiers to investigate. Command set exfil for a satellite station off base. We reset the dead system to target one of the automated planes circling above. Turns out the undead have a thing for giant explosions, like moths drawn to a porch lamp. And all we had to do was turn on the lights. Unfortunately, we couldn't exactly control the landing. Hendricks alerted Taylor the bird was down and the diversion in play. We took out the NRC and moved. Bishop was being held underground in the security station across the tarmac. Hendricks ordered weapons down. The base was crawling with NRC soldiers and undead. No need to draw any more attention to ourselves. We crossed the tarmac. The tunnel ahead led to the security station. Hendricks took out the guards. I hacked into the system to find Bishop.
Why were there NRC still at the base? It was being overrun.
They needed the cure. They kidnapped Bishop's whole team and would do whatever it took to get their hands on it. They'd torture these researchers till the dead broke down the door and ripped them all to shreds if it meant they could save their people. It wasn't personal. It was self-preservation. With the secret out about Bishop's discovery, he'd become the most wanted man in the world. The NRC were just the first to grab him. It was every country for itself. Why do you think we were there? The Winslow Accord wanted the same thing the NRC did.
You can't rationalize anything when you're put up against the wall.
Nothing about this was rational. It was instinctual, animalistic. Survive it. He had been escorted to an interrogation room. We had to hurry. Behind us was an undead army. Once one got a whiff, the others would come running. Hendricks told Bishop who we were and that we had to move, but Bishop refused to leave without the other researchers, his friends. Our instructions were specific. Bishop was our priority. We didn't like it, but Bishop refused to leave without them.
Sounds like you were taking an awful risk.
He said for the cure to work, he needed them. They weren't expendable. Technically, we were.
In a way, you and the NRC were not so different in what you wanted and how far you were willing to go.
Our method was different. Our reasoning was not. No one wants to sacrifice themselves to save the world. But you like to think if the moment came, you'd have it in you.
Who was inside the cell?
Lieutenant Ziyed Khalil, member of the Egyptian army. Back in '65, he was a guard assigned to Bishop's research station. This was how we met. Hendricks cut him down and notified Taylor we were freeing the other hostages. Taylor said we didn't have the time. The base was swarming with additional NRC forces. They weren't letting their prize go that easily. There was a tunnel full of hostile soldiers between us and our exit. A cargo elevator ahead was the only way to the surface. No telling how close the dead were behind us. The remaining NRC forces were waiting for us above. They weren't about to let their prize prisoner go. If it meant getting the cure and saving their families, they were willing to die for it. And they weren't the only ones. We'd never seen dead killers in action before. To us, it was a spectacle. To them, it was just another day in the life. Wait a minute.
Do not be deceived by his lies. Remember your past. Remember when you first met John Taylor. Remember the truth.
Wait, this is wrong. This can't be real. I told you I met Taylor in Zurich during the 2065 Cathartist Uprising, after I became a dead killer. But here I am with Taylor. And my limbs haven't been replaced yet. I'm still human. Why did you tell me that the first time I met Taylor was Zurich?
Focus. You need to complete this memory. What was Taylor's plan?
We were still on for Exfil. But first, we had to blow the bridge. We followed Diaz. Both undead and NRC forces were converging on our position. Paul grabbed us after the hangar. She was to take us to Moretti, so we could blow the bridge. After the bridge, we were forced inside a comm center. Moretti took point. The rendezvous with Taylor was an APC garage just ahead. We could hear the undead screaming towards us. But that wasn't all. A robot horde was moving in. Taylor would need some time to get the door open.
You were forced into the garage. What happened there?
Hendricks wanted to go back and get the other hostages. Taylor said Bishop was priority. After all, he had the cure. The rest were just collateral.
What did Taylor do?
He volunteered to take his team to get the others. We were to take Khalil and Bishop to exfil. We got on the APC. Bishop was the most important man in the world right now. We had to get him to exfil if it killed us. The APC stalled on us. Hendricks needed a minute to get it going. The undead, robots like crawling over us. The APC spun out and crashed. Hendricks moved Bishop into position. The drone evac was inbound. Once secured in the drop pod, it would return to collect. We just needed to hold back the horde.
What happened?
Airspace was compromised. They had to pull out. Bishop was priority. We were extended. We heard Teddy on the comms. He was inbound and told us to hang on. No. I can't do this. I can't live this again. No. Please.
I am sorry. You must.
No, no, please!
If you wish to defeat Deimos, you must. To save the world, you must relive this.
I should have died. I felt myself fade. It was over. That was the day I met John Taylor. That was the day I became a dead killer.
That was the day you met Bishop, the man who found the cure, before he died at the Cairo aquifers. Moretti told you to find him.
On Moretti's instruction, we sought him out. We told him what we knew, which at the time was just a name, Deimos. He didn't know much, just that Deimos was responsible for the outbreak, and that a safe house in Singapore had a dossier on the guy. So we returned to Singapore. Little did we know, Gojulan had taken the city, and somehow gotten the undead to obey her. If we were gonna get to the safe house, we'd have to go through them. These scavengers were well equipped. I suppose that's what you get when you prey on your fellow man. We made quick work of them. Hendricks took point down the alley. From the sounds of it, the dead knew we were coming. Clearly, Singapore was happy to have us back in town. Overwatch confirmed the vultures were converging on the safe house. Civilians spotted on site. We didn't know if we could get through without additional collateral damage. The scavengers began realizing they weren't the only humans in the area. It was a matter of time before Gojulan knew we were here. The safe house was beyond the gardens, but the gardens belonged to the dead. They smelled us lurking above. Before Hendricks could take him out, the scavenger alerted Gojulan. She knew we were here. Reinforcements were moving on a checkpoint nearby, along with more dead. malfunctioning ASP heard the commotion and joined the party. I needed to find a rocket launcher. The vultures beat us there, set fire to the facility. Gojulan announced herself over a PA. She was inside, and she had a special guest waiting for us. We cleared the plaza. All that was left.
Who was in the panic room?
Her. Kane. Our guardian angel. Someone had beaten the hell out of her. Goju Lan. She was there for the same thing I was. The same thing our friend was. The dossier.
Do it. Kill her. Kill his host. Prove yourself worthy.
Did you kill her?
I struggled. Panicked. I acted in the heat of the moment. After the aquifers, we certainly hadn't expected to see Kane again, let alone here. She wanted the same thing we did. The data drive on Deimos. Better yet, she knew where it was. It was moved from the safe house to a CIA black station in the quarantine zone.
Did she say why Goju Lan was trying to kill her?
It wasn't Goju Lan. Julan was a puppet of Deimos, and Deimos wanted Kane dead. Guess he didn't like her very much.
Did you trust her?
No, not yet. Our guard was up, but if she could get us to the black station, it was worth a shot.
More vultures.
Preying on the weak. Since the fall of the Immortals, they'd inherited all of Singapore. Turned the place into some twisted version of the Wild West. After the events at the safe house, we caught their attention. They weren't exactly thrilled with us on their turf, and were taking it out on the locals to find us.
Why didn't you step in? You could have saved them.
Calculated risks. We needed to stay quiet and lay low.
But there's always a chance, isn't there?
Chance is a billion-sided die. You like the odds of that? If they... winds were picking up. The superstorm could hit at any moment. Good thing we grabbed those sweaters. The plan was to wait on the drone strike. Once it did its part, we'd move in. The missiles weren't effective. Wind too strong. And now that ocean liner looked like it was about to rip free. That thing would pulverize the dock, taking the data drive with it. Hendricks said, fuck it. We were built to kill the dead. No reason to switch it up now. We secured the first part of the drive and uploaded the information to Kane. Hendricks moved to sweep the wheelhouse. The howling wind told us we had to hit it fast and quick. We'd been set to rendezvous at an abandoned police station, but we were off route. We cut through the flooded subway to save time. With the dead cleared out, we moved toward our rendezvous. Turns out we weren't the only living things in there. A vulture got the drop on us, determined to reduce us to scrap metal. He'd hit a big payday with us cornered.
You were a payday to him? How so?
We were dead killers. You break us down to spare parts, you can fetch a pretty penny on the black market.
But you were there to fight the dead.
With their comms scrambled, we had one less nuisance to deal with at the Black Station. Now to get the drive and get the hell out of this shithole.
You couldn't take being here, could you? You felt haunted coming back to this city.
The feeling had latched onto me at the safe house. Like I was being watched. Something had their eyes on me.
Something? Not someone?
And I just felt something pulling me, guiding me. I couldn't shake it. Our rendezvous with Kane was just ahead. By the time we rendezvoused with Kane, the dead were crawling all over the street.
What was Kane's plan?
Hit him in the gullet, then bag and tag. Gotta admit, the girl wasn't afraid of a fight. She seemed to welcome it, relish it.
Like yourself?
Like a berserker. Like a dead killer. Why didn't you tell me? You created Project Corvus, wrote the report. You pulled me along like you had no clue what I was talking about.
If I had told you, the impact would not have been the same. You know that. That you could not recall is no fault of mine.
After the Black Station, we had to find you. Find out what you knew.
I was in Cairo at the time. Your friend, Khalil.
He brought you to Ramsey Station, humanity's last holdout in Egypt. We knew who Deimos was, where he was from, but we didn't know why. He'd taken over the world, but to do what? To find out why, we had to talk to you. The pieces were coming together. Virus 6115, Taylor's team, the undead, it all came back to Deimos. All we needed was you. Hendrix was unhinged. The idea his friends betrayed mankind to help a demigod. The concept alone was insane, let alone his friends' involvement. Kane was in it to the end. By now, she was as obsessed with stopping Deimos as we were. We weren't ready for Cairo, no matter what we thought. This place. If there was ever a place that was hell on Earth, this was it. It wasn't just the city. The entirety of northern Africa had fallen to the undead. The walls were covered with memories of the dead, those taken by 6115. Lost to this wasteland, the desert for the undead. It was the last place on Earth you'd want to be. But you chose to hide there. Why?
For that very reason. I hoped no one would come for me.
Why? What were you running from?
From what you sought. Deimos.
Khalil was waiting. He was holding you in an interrogation room.
How was Khalil? Happy to see you.
It wasn't a warm welcome. As far as he was concerned, we owed him one for grabbing you. More than a few men gave their lives to bring you in. He hoped it was worth it.
He was angry?
He was tired. Tired of fighting a losing battle. Khalil was a realist. He'd fight to the death for country. But he knew what was coming.
And what was coming?
Extinction. The undead changed everything. The NRC were hit first and hardest. We saw that in Ethiopia. The damage done by the dead didn't even take into account what the water wars did. When the continent dried up and the Nile River Coalition took war to Egypt over the Nile, the last water supply. They were so busy fighting they didn't realize it too had dried up. But the rise of the undead? How do you fight an enemy that doesn't need water? Khalil's rage wasn't misplaced. It wasn't personal. He was just barely holding on.
What did you hope to learn from speaking to me?
How to stop Deimos. Everyone has a weakness. The whole base was on edge. You could feel it in the air. The dead were moving on Ramses. An assault was imminent. Khalil didn't know how much time we had with you. Hendrix demanded to know why we weren't informed.
How did Khalil respond to his anger?
WA command was down. How was he meant to get his message through? Besides, came too close, the laser cannons would take them out. Khalil led us to interrogate out of you. Maybe we could find a way to fight back.